What in the fuck is going on? Oh. Switch until I hit this. Here it goes, I think.
Good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in
I don't have 100% confidence in anything, okay? Anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look.
It's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
You gotta love Donald J. He loves that confrontation. We'll get into more of that later on the show. More from the Moran ABC as Trump punks. Terry Moran and ABC.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst.
Again, you gotta love Trump one way or the other, man. He loves the battle, the confrontation of that boo-boo, the poor dog that got stabbed in Hemet. There's an update on that story that they've got. It looks like he may survive. That's been the press release coming out that we got from Action Eye News there. So good news for boo-boo on that. 7-year-old who wanted McDonald's drives 10 miles to do that. Hopefully, here we go.
Drove from Clearfield to South Ogden, which is about 10 miles. ABC4's Nate Larson spoke with her today. And Nate, this apparently all started when she learned from police that her car was missing. Walk us through this.
Yeah, Lindsay, what a terrifying Sunday that must have been for the Bush family. Whitney, the parent of the 7-year-old and 5-year-old who was in police custody on Sunday morning after, just as you mentioned, they took a joyride with their mom's car and ended...
Man, at 7 years old, takes your 5-year-old sister. Hey, we want McDonald's. We ain't awaiting. Good thing that it wasn't a more tragic situation. The great Sonia Shaw, rightfully so, was pissed off at the Chino Valley School District. Here we go.
Threat that I've gotten so far. But when I read these things in my inbox, it just makes me more resolute and fighting even harder. Does it scare me? I'm not gonna lie, I'm human. I have children. Of course it scares me. It brings me to my knees sometimes, but my knees are actually to Jesus for the protection, because I know he's gonna protect us and the girls, and we're gonna win this for our girls. 100%, I know that in my heart, we're gonna win this. So I just wanna tell you who we're protecting our kids from. This individual sent me this, and I'm only gonna put this on record so you know why we don't give up. Not just me, not just that person, not just that person. We don't give up as a body to protecting our girls, because this is who wants them. I got an email that says, you're a hate-filled bigot who deserves to be dragged in the streets and beaten to death. When I'm pausing, that's bad words, right?
It's absolutely incredible that Sonia Shaw, trying to protect girls, parents, kids, has to endure that kind of treatment, but that's happening right here in the IE. Kids bust into a pastry store and steal pastries. Imagine the amount of damage this does. Here we go.
broke in.
Yeah, Mike Rogers back on the desk now. Half a dozen kids helping themselves to dozens of desserts, Mike.
Yeah, and you know, Juan and Susie, we are talking about a very young group of suspects here that the Long Beach Police Department are currently looking for. This bakery has been in business for 37 years down in Long Beach, and she says, remarkably, this is the first time that this happened to her, and she's very discouraged to see that the people that broke in are pretty young. This is actually a video from down the street or next door to the bakery where they tried to get into first. You see one of them throwing a rock, the other throwing a pipe wrench there as well, unsuccessfully breaking the windows. Then they come to her business. That's when they were able to shatter the front windows. Here's the thing, though, all the damage they did, they got away with nothing. There's no cash for them to take. All they took were some of the pastries.
So they took 50 cents worth of pastries. Well, I don't know, they're fairly... So they got $10 worth of pastries. Absolutely. Some of the things that go on. Montclair High School student seriously injured after hit and run crash. Nicole Comstock. Maybe.
This family, it looks like these kids were not using a crosswalk when they made their way across this road at nighttime. And the family says they understand that mistakes and accidents happen. What they find unacceptable is that after hitting this 16-year-old boy in the road, that driver, they say, did not stop and try to help.
And it sucks to see him like this. He doesn't deserve it. I just can't believe it. We were just hanging out 2 days ago.
It's an emotional thing when you're a teenager and someone your age, one of your good friends, gets hit by a car.
I don't know what it is about people that don't stop. If you get in an accident or whatever, for whatever reason it happens, I don't get it at all. Man arrested after a fatal crash on the 60 freeway in Harupa Valley, DUI. Suspected. This is Krell. She's the one that put that legislation forward to make it a felony for soliciting for sex on the street, 16 and 17-year-olds. And she's a Democrat, just got elected. Can't get this through. Scott Wiener and the Gay Coalition are the ones that are blocking this. I'm the only one that I know of that's got guts enough to say it, because the whatever goofy alphabet caucus are the ones that are blocking this because they don't want their little play toys taken off the street. Come in here and prove me wrong, Wiener, but here's Krell.
To commit to working, yes, will you commit to working with the LGBTQI plus community in particulars of this bill as it addresses the loitering?
My answer is that I already have. I've had 27 meetings, including meetings with the LGBTQ caucus leadership, and as well as the consultants. I've also had several conversations with EQCA.
This again proves my point, William. Hopefully we'll get more into this later on in the show. But it's the LGBTQ caucus. It's the gay guys, mainly, that don't want to do this. They don't want to make it a felony to solicit on the street 16 and 17-year-olds because they want to protect their little sex toys. Prove me wrong. Give you every opportunity. Any of you, Scott Wiener, the whole crew, whoever that yo-yo was up there, come on in studio and defend your position. It's absolutely incredulous. There's Funky Soul Live guitar music. It comes in every Monday through Friday live. Well, we're closer to 4:30, really. On Evil Hippie Network, Rumble. X. I don't know why X doesn't want to start till 5 o'clock. That's perplexing. We ain't figured that out. YouTube's even cackling us in here for a bit. Love Donald J. trolling ABC and that. And I don't know that we'll get into too much today, but maybe we'll crank her up a little bit tomorrow on the hit parade of how you have the most by 9,432%, the most transparent president you've ever seen in history. Hands down, nobody else compares. He had a cabinet meeting today, second one with all the cabinet members there, addressing, updating the American people of what they are doing. Reporters asking idiotic questions again, as usual. But the whole Moran deal is actually fascinating. Of that Bobo, the dog who was stabbed in Hemet, appears to be, or looks like he may be able to recover from the stabbing injuries. And then, of course, we'll have the locale report up in not too long. Surprised St. Francis is closing. It'll be on the local report. St. Francis School in Riverside. Longtime Catholic school, I think. Elementary to junior high or 8th grade. I don't think they consider it junior high and elementary and high school in the Catholic. But anyway, St. Francis in downtown Riverside, slated to close. John Elway in that accident was on the golf course. It's at a ritzy golf club in Rancho Mirage. His longtime agent, partner, associate friend, they were golfing, fell out of the golf cart. Unfortunately, they turned off the life support today. Sheriff's Department is actually today, or as of Monday, that happened to the weekend, I think Saturday. They opened an investigation on Monday, Monday, 2 days ago, I should say. And they're being tight-lipped about what the investigation is on. There doesn't appear to be any foul play. He fell out of the golf cart, struck his peers. They said struck his head, so I'm assuming he either had like a concrete curb or something hard on that, because it was, from all the reports that we've gotten, it was a very grave scene as soon as it happened. But we will follow up on that story. Some of the local news. The picture, when we get to the local, check out Riverside, Monroe Street, 1963. 62 years ago. Man, we should bring that back. But a few of the things that are on the docket as we're going to roll forward here on today's show. Want to do that with Trump. As we say, good old Donald J. Donald J all the way. Let's see if we can move that. Yeah, so center the camera up a little bit better. Center that one up so it looks a little better. Got to rerun, and that's why I introed the clip. Man, I was impressed. That happened after the show last night. Trump, 100 days, that's a benchmark, since the television era. I don't know when it started, 60s or 70s. But that was always a benchmark, set first 100 days, which is true. Even in most presidencies, most of what they accomplish is set out in the first 100 days. Whether they serve 4 or 8 years or less than a term if they die or resign in office or whatever. But it is a benchmark and it's kind of a watermark people have set based on history is, man, this is the way things are going to go. Trump, by far, isn't even close, and they said it, most of the cabinet members said this, who have been in the other Trump administration. There may be a couple, and I just flashed through my head. There isn't any, or very few, if any, cabinet members that have been cabinet members of former presidents, which is very unusual. Usually you get a crew of the establishment. They want to keep an eye on you, if nothing else. So that was very, very, very telling on that. But the first one, this is Trump. And he loves this. There is no president, hardly any politicians. Most of them won't do this because they're afraid of the backlash and they're afraid they're going to lose popularity or the next election, which, unless you want to buy into the Trump trolling of Trump 2028, which I love. I mean, get your enemies off track doing this, then they're not paying attention or fighting you on what you're trying to accomplish. It's a brilliant strategy. Besant said this the other day. Something like, and this is what it is, create organized chaos in that step back and then come in and set the policy and get on with business. But anyway, Trump by far, no question, without a shadow of a doubt, not only loves it, the best president to come back at you if he doesn't agree with you, what you said, to come back at you forcefully, to draw the line in the sand, isn't afraid of the confrontation, of the discussion, to test. He's testing his ideas when he does this, like to a Terry Moran. That's what most people don't get. In most cases, at least from my perspective. So let's roll with the great Donald J. again.
A very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have
maybe
100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question.
He's 1,000% right. It was a stupid question. And nobody should have 100% confidence in anything. Anything can go wrong or right or change in a nanosecond, especially in politics. Like we said, it can change in a heartbeat. I've been in, thousands of political meetings in my 7 decades on this planet, parts of. I can tell you, I've seen city councils, I've seen the state legislature, I've seen Congress, Senate, sewer cleaning commissioner. I've seen them change directions 180 in a heartbeat. Gazillion times. And this is what Trump is not afraid to say it. Hey, it's illogical to say, they were trying to jam him on Pete Hegseth. They hate Pete. The establishment hates Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense probably worse than anyone. He's the only one that was 50-50. Vance had to break the tie. Everyone else, even Tulsi Gabbard, had 51-49, I believe. Robert Kennedy. Marco Rubio was the best. He got a unanimous. I wonder if some of them might want to backtrack on that based on he's been a surprise. He was establishment Bushite all the way. Man, he's pretty solid. He was solid at the cabinet meetings. I think we may have a clip of that today, but we might get into that more tomorrow. But anyway, Trump is 100% right. This is how these reporters try to box you in this question, because, are you 100% behind Pete Hegseth? And then, if they can come out and say, well, he was on the beach, and his toenails weren't trimmed right. Yeah, how could you have 100% confidence in Pete Hegseth? But most, I have 100% confidence in this. How many politicians, you're lying through your teeth? Like Trump said. You never have. Yeah, There's always something, a doubt. You never know what somebody else is doing. You don't follow anyone else 24/7, 365. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your parents, your wife, your kids, your best friend, neighbor down the street. So what Trump said is at 110,000, 111% right. More on Trump's punking of the Mockingbird media, ABC in particular. Here we go.
Look,
It's a pretty important
I
position.
have, no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
I don't have 100% confidence.
Very good.
We are going to finish this interview. Again, that's the brilliance of Trump. And that's why his base has not given up on him. Yeah, he may have, even if you take Rasmussen, which polls this every day. Yeah, he's lost. Yeah, he was like 51, 52 favorable. Now he's 47, 48. That's statistical noise. This is why people love Trump, because he talks, he acts, he thinks like most everybody else does. He doesn't sit there and lie to you. Oh, I have 100% confidence in. No. Only, like he said, only a fool would have that. Now, does he trust Pete Hegseth? Yeah, if he didn't, his most famous words on TV, "You're fired." If Trump thought Pete Hegseth, as much crap and as many people that have been in his ear about getting rid of Hegseth, if he thought Pete Hegseth was undermining him, double dealing, giving information to the other side to make him look bad, Trump would fire him in a second. And he would get a lot of accolades for that because people hate him so much. I mean, I'm talking about Hegseth. Well, a lot of people hate Trump too. Like Sonia Shaw, and we'll get to that. It's another one. Standing up at the school board meeting. And for what, 3 or 4 years now? Some of the most violent attacks on her. And she's not backing down. Very few. Sonia Shaw, Donald Trump, Chuck Condon. Very few. Tom McClendon. Ron Paul, well, the former, that's a former one. Probably ran too. Very few politicians. I don't worry going to sleep at night and then waking up thinking they're screwing us under the workbench. When I get to the second clip, on the punking of the Mockingbird media, ABC and Terry Moran in particular, by the great DJT. Here we go.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst.
To Terry, wipe the floor with Terry Moran. Wipe the floor. Terry Moran up there with it. And Trump why he couldn't say anything because Trump, in that case, was 111% right. You, Terry Moran. and the Mockingbird media were covering up exclusively for an incompetent, shouldn't have never been elected in the first place, probably aided and abetted and helped in the stolen election. You guys in the Mockingbird media, Terry Moran and everything, come in and prove me wrong, created the narrative that they could cheat the election in 2020 and rig, I'm using that word, Terry, rigged the election in 2020. If the vast portion of the media wouldn't have said, oh, Biden's leading up in the polls, this, said Trump was worse than Satan the devil himself. On top of that, this is why people don't trust the Terry Morans and the ABCs and the Eyes and the Peacock and everything else. What was it? Media Research Center came out, 97% of the Mockingbird a-hole media that's out there, negative coverage on Trump. 97%, only 3% positive coverage. Now, I don't care if you love or hate Trump. Inflation's down, borders secure. Looks like we're going to finally get the mineral deal. We're bringing China and the rest of the world to the table to get rid of these stupid trade agreements that we've negotiated the last 30 years. Drill, baby, drill. Got Robert Kennedy trying to get the poisons and everything out of our food. Egg, as it was pointed out, the cabinet, the agricultural secretary, egg prices are down substantially. Why? Because we're not killing 100 million chickens like Biden did. Why do you think 11? Why didn't they report the reason eggs are $11, Terry Moran, ABC? Why didn't you report the reason eggs are $11 a dozen are because Biden killed 100 million chickens over the bird flu? Why weren't not one, in Canada or Mexico? Did that wall work so good that it stopped the bird flu? That's why nobody likes you. And that's why you chicken bleep little idiot. I'll go off on the bad words. Terry Moran. When Trump backed you up, oh, thank you. Because you knew you were done. Clown. This is one of many out there that we get to. Just so you know, Trump hasn't changed. This, I believe, was back in the 90s. Yes, with Charles Feldman, 1990. You think Trump's changed? 1990. What? Oh, 35 years ago.
I thought your demeanor was inaccurate. I thought that questions that you were posing to people in my organization were inaccurate and false and unfair.
Well, questions by definition can't be inaccurate. The questions.
Well, I think the questions themselves were put in such a way that made them statements, and they became statements as opposed to questions, and I think that's not good reporting.
Such as?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think your viewers would be very interested in it, nor do I want to embarrass you.
No, I don't think I would be, but let's talk about what we talked about yesterday. Those in the financial community I'm talking about, and we talked about this on the phone, who have said, and this is them saying it, not me.
This is them? What do you mean by them? This is one or two people, and what about the positive people?
5 or 6, but the ones who said negative things, and
here we are.
Well, we've got to talk
back to the negative.
Back to the negative.
Back to the. You know what? Do this interview with somebody else.
Well, we talked about this yesterday on the phone. This is exactly what we talked about.
Do the interview with somebody else. Really. Yeah, you don't need this. Do it with somebody else. Have a good time. Because frankly, you're a very negative guy, and I think it's very unfair reporting.
Good luck.
I disagree with you. Sorry you feel that way.
So there you go. 1990. Like Trump said, who's they? Who's them? Who's accusing? Name the accuser so I can at least know what the hell you're talking about. Negative. He tried to get to the positive. Negative, negative, negative. First 100 days. CNN, PMSNBC, as Rush used to say, ABC, the Eye, the Peacock, Reuters, whomever. 97% coverage first 100 days on Trump negative, with all the positive things that have happened. More joy than we've had in 3 months than the last 3 years under Biden, who they praised, who they were on their knees to for 4 freaking years, really 5 during the campaign, and the year before in 2020 during the campaign, and his 4 years of presidency. They were on their knees to Joe Biden. Oh, this is the second coming of Jesus Christ. He's a God. He invented he controls everything. You can't question, you'll burn in hell if you question Joe Biden. Like Trump said. Dude had lost his marbles. Everybody knew it. It's really, 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 really almost astonishing that we even got to that. Drives me insane. Another one, Sonia Shaw, we run this in the intro. She's been trying 4 years, steadfast. First time I met Sonia Shaw was at King High School, well, about the King High School, but the big black dude who was beating up on the girls, he's claiming he was a tranny in the locker rooms, whole thing. Great, at the time, Assembly member, now U.S. Attorney, Bill Asaley, and her came out. We had a meeting about it at the library over there in Woodcrest. It's the first time I saw Sonia Shaw. She came all the way from Chino. She had just been elected herself as a school board member of Chino Valley Unified School District. Has stood strong to support kids' education, to try to turn this stupid system we have around that has made absolute almost idiots out of our kids. They can't even come up with 2 + 2 = 4. On top of that, the whole boys and men and girls locker rooms and sports. And you heard some of the vile stuff she had to endure, threats, language. Hey, if you want to debate honestly, you get somebody that wants to debate Sonia Shaw, I'm sure she'll come in studio. I'll moderate it and let's go. We'll go to the cows come home. You want to intellectually debate your subject, whether it be you think boys and men should be in girls' locker rooms and sports, and come in and let's go. You don't think parents should be notified of what's going on with their kids? Let's go.
I'd pay good effing money to have a front row seat to that effing event, you detestable effing skank. Watching someone bash your effing skull in with a hammer and seeing your effing brain spill out onto the ground would have me effing feeling giddy. You're an utterly evil piece of traitor to everything this nation stands for. No, I'm not. I'm everything. I'm fighting for everything this nation stands for, and I will never stop fighting for our girls, because you know what? These are the people that want control of your kids. And I say, they're going to step aside because we are still going to win. They're not going to scare us. That doesn't scare me because at the end of the day, I have the blood of Jesus covering me while everybody else, somebody else.
So, '80-20 issue. Sonia Shaw happens to be on the 80, and probably 98.7% of the 20% that say they support this are lying through their teeth, just they want to be, considered in the group. Or don't want to take the brickbats and not coming out for common sense. Tell you what, most gay and lesbians that I have talked to, they are totally against that because they said this crap that's going on with all this alphabet soup and, the whole issue Sonia's talking about, the girls' sports thing, it's making us look bad and we don't agree with it. Most of us don't. It's a very subsect of the population, but they're running and ruling the roost. Thank goodness we have tough representatives like Sonia Shaw, Chino Valley School Board President, that will stand up and stand in the fire, stand in the breach, and do what's right.
So we're asking Trump to intervene. We're asking him to pull the funding. Pull the funding. Show California you're serious. Our taxpayer dollars are being wasted in lawsuits when Newsom and the rest of them keep suing Trump for common sense issues. You guys voted in this admin. Now, I ask you, please start voting in the right people in Sacramento because we need to stop this insanity. And there's only so much we could do at the local level because they keep bringing laws to stop us from doing the right thing.
Could not agree with that statement more than anything. But we've been bullhorning that for years. Same thing. Trump should pull the federal dollars coming into the state of California for education because we've screwed it up royally. Not only the parental notification, but that once, back in 90, when Trump did that, when Trump walked out on the CNN clock. Number one in education. Not only the United States, probably the world. Thank goodness we have Louisiana and Arkansas or wherever, Mississippi, or we'd be at the bottom. And she's 1,111% right. Quit voting these yo-yos, clowns into office. Do the right thing. Pay attention. Not just to the presidency or the governor's race. Pay attention to who's on your school boards. Chino Valley, Temecula, Murrieta, few, some up in Northern California. Placentia, one where Blades is at. They're trying to take back Redlands, Candy Olson and Jeanette Wilson. At least they're on a 3-2. Well, it's a 2-2-1. At least they had some sanity there that we reported on last week. But you see the haters. Haters are not Trump. Haters are not straight white males. Haters are not hillbilly this and that, yada, yada, yada. Haters are the George Floyd supporters, the LGBTQ, the rioters, that raise kids, that go smash through a window and steal. Well, they can't steal anything out of the pastry store, so they take 10 or 20 bucks worth of pastries. Probably cost 10, in today's market, 10 or 20 grand. Just to replace the busted window and whatever they did. Because we have rewarded failure. Kids have no idea right or wrong, whether you shouldn't do this. because they've always been given a trophy. They get 6.9 grade point averages. Everything is perfect. The little deers never do. They're running the classroom. Candy Olson was put. Well, maybe we need to get Candy in here. Maybe we'll get Candy and Jeanette in studio. She's talking about California School Board Association, which is what all the school boards in. This was one of the ones that wanted us shut up with Merrick Garland. Our right to go speak and address the school boards. Remember during COVID? Like Sonia's saying, Candy Olson saying, Leandra Blades, board member down there at Yorba Linda Placentia, got a few down. Steve Campos over in Paris, Nick Purdue down in Marietta, Joe Komrosky and crew down there. They took that school board back over even better than they had it before. We need to expand that. In 26, and the time to start that is now. Charlie Kirk's having a rally down at UCR next week. I think it's next Wednesday. We'll post some of the stuff on IE Newswire. I joined the Riverside Republican Assembly. They're starting one. Riz is starting one here in Moreno Valley. Get in the ball game. Go to your public meetings. Go to one. Go to one per month. Whether it's school board, water board, sewer cleaning commissioner, city council, board of supervisors. Go to one. Just put it on your calendar to go to one per month. If 10% of the people did that, Sonia Shaw wouldn't be dealing with what she is. We wouldn't. We reported on it yesterday. The plight of new Assemblywoman Krell. Newly elected Democrat. And these are the Democrats that have been saying, even Newsom. This is why Newsom's been doing a 180, because he's been seeing what has been going on. His popularity is down about where Trump's is in the latest poll I saw when we ran last week. Down in the 30s. It's almost cut in half. He was 60% almost or above almost his entire governorship. Again, short update. Last year, Shannon Grove, who was assembly member, now state senator from the Bakersfield area, another hillbilly. Had tried for years since I think she's been in the legislature 8 years, tried every year to get those who approach or solicit sex for minors, that means 17 and under, on the street as a felony. Finally, last year, it came out they had been dumping that, would never let it out of committee for like 7 or 8 years. Finally, the public got a hold of it. It finally got enough attention with the public. Started on Newsom in the legislature. Newsom said, hey, get in there and fix that. Remember, we reported on it last year. Finally, they got it through. But this is what we said. Scott Wiener and the crew, the LG, not the gay, the absolute radicals, the off the charts, walking around nude in public type of stuff. That coalition up there is the one that blocked it. They said, absolutely no way is it going to be 16 or 17-year-olds. Well, finally, the public pressure was so bad, they said, well, we will get it out of committee and we will pass if it's 15 or under. So that happened last year. And, hey, I get it. When you're in the legislature, you got to take what you can get. So Krell gets elected, Democrat, former prosecutor, seen the damage this has done, thinks, what the hell? Why is it at 15 should be 17? Minors. Now, again, you can kind of make a case. I would say for anybody. Well, I mean, prostitution, in my mind, should be legal in controlled areas where you know where it's at, between adults, which now means 18 or over, and there's protections, condoms, so you don't get sexually transmitted diseases. But if two people want to do the nasty and whatever, one person wants to pay them to do that, that is, in my world, that's nobody's business of them. However they wanted to conduct their lives, that's not affecting me in the least. But when you have pimps or now drug cartels running the streetwalkers and everything, and running the other stuff, but especially the streetwalkers and the dangerous and having them, that is ridiculous. Ms. Krell said, this should be common sense. Why isn't it 17 and below? Minors. If you're approaching a minor and offering to pay for sex, there should be no question. And that's what she thought. And if you think I'm wrong, this guy that you're going to see, I forgot his name, but maybe it'll come up here, Scott Wiener, or any of those that are blocking this today, come on the show, because this is going to prove it. The first words out of the guy running the assembly, and Krell's like going, WTF, I don't believe what I'm hearing. Here we go. We thought.
To commit to working, yes, will you commit to working with the LGBTQI plus community in particulars of this bill as it addresses the loitering?
My answer is that I already have. I've had 27 meetings, including meetings with LGBTQ caucus leadership, and as well as the consultants. I've also had several conversations with EQCA. I arranged a survivor-led panel for EQCA consultants to listen to. So I've engaged with the LGBT community as much as possible on this bill. I've tried to engage with you as well, both one-on-one in my office, and every chance that I've got, I will continue to do so. It's really important to me. To your comments about selective enforcement and discriminatory enforcement, I make no excuses for that. We need to root out discrimination in law enforcement and all of our other systems. I'm committed to doing that. But this bill gives us the ability to help people who are truly victims. And while the LGBT community is overrepresented in the victim population, they are not overrepresented in the buyer population. This bill specifically goes after buyers.
This bill specifically goes after buyers. Look at it. Oh, have you went through the LGBTQ caucus? Well, yeah, we did this. Again, this bill, and the reason is, I will say this, that's why Scott Wiener, and look at anybody that knows him, we can go back to the history. They don't want to be arrested. They don't want anybody to get in front of having their little minor kids that they want to have sex with. And that's who's blocking this. Prove me wrong. You have a small contingent up there that wants to protect their little proclivities, let's be nice about it, at the expense of damaging the psyche of kids. If we can't protect kids, minors, we have 111% failed as a society. You want to say it takes a village? We burnt the village, took the ashes, drilled a hole to China, and flushed them down it. More from Miss Krell. At least in this, a Democrat who's 111% right, gazillion% right on this one. AB 379 should be passing unanimously in the state assembly and state of California. And Newsom said, hey, Newsom said, I will sign it. You better pass this. There's no reason why this bill. Gavin Newsom said there's no reason why this bill shouldn't pass.
I misunderstood that. Are you saying that there's overabundance of LGBT buyers?
No, I'm saying that there are not. They are overrepresented in the victim population, but not in the buyer population.
And I know we did have, and I apologize for misunderstanding that. And I know that we did have some dialogue on this. And I appreciate the engagement that you've had, but none of that is reflective in your support.
In the support for the bill?
Correct.
Can you talk about the organization?
No, we don't have to go through that piece of it. I'm just saying, in all of the letters that are here, there's no LGBT organizations that are in support of the group. Did I miss that?
Yes.
Okay, which ones?
Well, Eduardo Christian was one of the panelists. He's an LGBTQ survivor. Love Never Fails is an organization that works with transgender survivors.
Well, I don't want to go through the weeds on individuals.
Well, now that you mentioned that there is organizations, alphabet soup ones, that support this, after whatever, and I'll have to find out who that guy is running the hearing. Oh, there are no this or that. Well, yes, there is. Which ones are there's none in this support of this? Well, yes, there is. Thank you, Miss Crow. For one, for bringing this legislation back up. It's not the evil Shannon Grove. And punking this idiot. And again, like she said, and they're kind of dancing around it. And yeah, maybe Scott Wiener isn't out there on the street paying for it. But like she said, the victims overwhelmingly, the sex trade, are from the gay, lesbian, queer, whatever the hell industry. And that's what they're afraid of. If this gets out, then the next one coming down the pike is going to take away their little boy toys that are kids, minors, that we should be protecting. That's why they wanted to do all this. That's why all the queer and the gay and the porno in the schools and teaching that and teaching all this, teaching them how to have explicit sex in the schools as low as kindergartners. This is what, it's drip, 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 a little bit, oh, you're a homophobe. Oh, you're this and that. No. Like Trump said. Like Krell's looking at them like, how can you're up there. They've been getting, guys like that dude that was up there in the hearing, they've been getting away with this stuff for so long. It's standard operating procedure. What, you mean question anything I've said or what I want to do? Vaya caramba. It's really, really fascinating at times. Oh, I want, before we hit the Mighty Met KMET, and hopefully Susan Shelley will be calling in. She usually does on a Wednesday. The Tren de l'Iragra. Moran hit him. Then there was a cabinet meeting this morning. You know, they think they're going to win on this whole MS-13 gang member that's now in the El Salvador prison. First question out of the box after the cabinet meeting discussed everything under the sun, update on every policy, defense, agriculture, health, intelligence, housing, HUD.
Go ahead, Pete.
Well, Mr. President, I think we're controversial because we're over the target. And like so many things, Mr. President, you inherited a demoralized military that couldn't recruit, that was perceived as weak after what happened in Afghanistan and elsewhere because of Joe Biden. And what we have seen since your election and decades, it hasn't been commander-in-chief. We're military, sir, DOD. We're rebuilding the military, sir, that have nothing to do with lethality and warfighting. And we will have.
That was a Hegseth clip, not the one I was looking for, but hey, these things happen. No, it was absolutely, it was about this Tren de Liagra stuff. And, oh, I think I've got it here. Here's the one I was looking for.
Over the years, good groups, bad groups, all types of groups, but I have been involved in some incredible groups, but I've never been more proud and impressed, frankly. Impressed is maybe even more important, but I've never been more proud or impressed than I am with this group. This is an amazing group of people, and I hope some of those television cameras were blazing and it was on so people could watch this because, frankly, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, this is an impressive group of people. I sat around being somewhat competitive. I said, well, let's see, who did the best job, who did the worst job? And I determined that everybody is like the same, and there was no worst job. Everybody was outstanding. Everybody did a job. You couldn't pick a winner. The only thing you can say is nobody did a bad job or even a fair job. You're outstanding. And so I want to just congratulate you all. This is really something. And, you know, we have a job to do. We've done a lot of work in place in the next 100 days. I'm very impressive. And I hope to say that we're very proud of you. And why did you do this? Why? We probably, I think they should be very respectful questions of the poll because that was the purpose. But if you'd like to ask some, I think they should be very respectful questions at this point. This was an amazing meeting. And so if you'd like to ask a couple, if you'd like to pinpoint them to some of the secretaries, et cetera,
yes,
would be fine. Yes.
Secretary Rubio, can I ask you a question? You brought up El Salvador in your remarks. Have you been in touch with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia? Has a formal request from this administration?
After they'd just been updated on the cabinet meeting, everyone, oh, we got to get that guy back from El Salvador. Can you get that back? How are we going to get... Shut up! Shut up! She should never be allowed, she should never be allowed back in. Trump said, why don't you ask some respectful questions? You got the whole cabinet members here. Moran was on the same thing. That's the only thing. They're hanging their hat on and the American people are not behind them. In fact, hey, they're digging their own hole with this stuff. And again, well, maybe she should be back in. As we said, when your enemy's in a hole and they're digging deeper, you hand them shovels. Trump set that up brilliantly. Why don't you ask some respectful questions of all the people here? And just, we got to get the gang members back in here. I want to be raped and murdered. I want my kids to be shot. It's all, if you weren't watching it, it's almost unbelievable.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
As he said, we'll be joining the monument KMET here in a few seconds. Hopefully Susan Shelley calls in. We'll get into some of this other stuff going on. And her columns for the week. Brilliant as usual. of that, like we say, there's no nexus for no.
5 seconds. Here we go.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those.
Funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire on the aforementioned AM band. Join our vast video audience in the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Maybe I don't know why YouTube or X is wanting to start at 5 o'clock. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that I don't know what's up. Maybe you can't start at the bottom of the hour anymore. I don't know. Lots of stuff going on. Trump, punks, Terry Moran and ABC on his 100-day interview of that. Absolutely fabulous stuff that we did on that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The California Democratic State Legislature is still trying to block, making it a felony, to solicit minors, 16 and 17-year-olds, on the street for sex. AB 379. We went through all that, but we will say it on this show, and anybody who wants to come in, prove me wrong. This is Scott Wiener, the radical gay that's parading around with people nude in the street out in public all the time, is the one they want to protect their little sex toys up there. And I think the evidence proves it. Most people are dancing around it. I want to thank Krell for reintroducing the bill that Shannon Grove got passed as she wanted it passed, where all minors were protected under this. But it just goes to show how deep, I don't even want to say the word I'm thinking, of how bad our government has gotten in California. But as we usually do on a Wednesday, we have the famed editorial writer, columnist for the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Bulletin, Redlands Daily Facts. For more important to me, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Susan Shelley. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Great to be with you.
Something between all the other stuff that's going on, but in California, AB 379. Krell just got elected Democrat, was former prosecutor, says, why are 16 and 17-year-olds who are propositioned on the street for sex, and why aren't the people doing that not charged as a felony? As Shannon Grove got it passed for 15 or less, 15-year-olds less after the public outcry, and even Newsom said, hey, fix this thing. Now it's coming. She introduces the bill, and now they're attacking her. She's like going, she's dumbfounded. This is like, to most people, 80-20, and most of the 20 are lying about it. This is like, if you ask anybody walking down the street, if you ask him at the bingo parlor, at church, or wherever, if you told them that it was not a felony to do this, they'd think, they'd say, prove it, show me the law. I think it's another chunk in the deal of unraveling some of the insanity we've endured in California and nationwide too over the last 30, 40 years. But what say you, Susan Shelley?
Well, you know, when you see stories like this, you recognize the wisdom of the founders in saying elections every 2 years. You just don't let these people get the chairs warm and you make them go before the voters again. Because what are they thinking in saying what they're saying, which is, oh, we made a deal last year to carve out 16 and 17-year-olds, so that's not a felony to solicit for prostitution a child of 16 or 17. That's not a felony. But below that it is. We made a deal, and the deal's more important than the welfare of the kids. And that's what they've been saying. You know, it's our deal. We made a deal. Well, what kind of a deal was that? And who are these people who are negotiating on behalf of child predators? This is disgusting. And, you know, if you make it a felony and it says, well, this is going to discourage people from soliciting young-looking kids for young-looking hookers won't have their share of the business, you betcha. You betcha. That's what we would like to do, is not have people preying on young-looking prostitutes. We would rather have no business for young-looking prostitutes because they're children and they deserve protection. And they don't deserve to have, quote, their sex worker careers enhanced by Sacramento's laws. This is disgusting. What's wrong with those people?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, if you would ask practically anybody, anywhere at any time, they would have, and you would have said, well, we're not doing that because they made a deal. They would have said, what kind of deal is that? Like you said, it should be, if you would have, it's like, how do you wrap your head around this? What are they thinking? I've said it. I mean, I've been the only, we said it yesterday on the show. I said, this is Scott Wiener and the Radicals, and they want to protect their little boy toys that they've been abusing, in my opinion, all these years of that. And they say that's why the deal was cut before last year, because they didn't, because they know if this starts steamrolling, their world might be coming in. They can't parade adults or whatever up and down the streets nude in San Francisco like they've been doing and all this other stuff. And I don't want to, well, I better not say the word I'm thinking. Their little world that they've created and they've been able to protect is starting to unravel. And we ran the hearing with Krell going against the guy who was trying to come back at her on that. And I think more people now are seeing what's going on. That bodes hope for us, Susan Shelley.
I hope so. I hope you're right. And I have to say that the fact that we're going to have an election for governor is a very promising thing, because all these issues can be discussed and people can find out about it. Because an awful lot of people don't even hear these stories of what's going on in Sacramento. I mean, you and I are following it. A lot of people are following it, but not everybody. And in an election campaign, more people can be made aware of the abuse of power that's happening in Sacramento, because that's what this is.
1,000% on that. I hope we get, even Newsom said he's back down because of the public pressure last year that got at least the 15 and under passed of that. He's even telling them again this year, hey, you better get this thing done of that. The other thing after the 100 days yesterday and the interview with Terry Moran on ABC, the absolute owning, punking Donald Trump did on them and the Mockingbird media of the whole thing, between his quotes of, they were between them trying to protect, and they were at the cabinet meeting to do. Their whole deal is now is to try to get a gangbanger MS-13 member back from El Salvador. And they like he said, I'm not 100% confident in anything, and anybody that tells you that is a liar of that. On top of that, the money one I thought was when Trump told Terry Moran, I picked you because I didn't even know who you were, of that. Trump, and this is my contention on Trump we did earlier in the show. Trump, by far, has the confidence and is the most maybe the most biggest political figure we've ever had that isn't afraid of confrontation, isn't afraid to stand up what he believes in and let the chips fall where they may. Susan Shelley.
Well, this is really, we're living through amazing times watching this. I hope that more people begin to recognize how lucky we are to watch this show, because this is history we're seeing. They threw everything at Donald Trump. They threw everything at him. They said he raped some woman in a department store dressing room, and they said that he was a spy for Russia, and all this stuff, and he stood up to all of it. They raided Mar-a-Lago. He stood up to it. He prevailed. He was elected with the popular vote, and the Electoral College, and now he's in the White House. There's nothing they can do to him that they haven't already tried and failed at. They even tried to kill him. Somebody tried to kill him. You can argue how much of the government was involved in that. We may never know. But people tried to kill him a couple of times, and they failed at that too. So now he's unstoppable. And here's the other thing that makes Donald Trump unique. When did we ever have a president who was the star of a reality show, #1 in the country for 14 seasons? We've never had that. Reagan was a movie star, and that was also very helpful because when you know how to work a camera and you understand how a performance comes across to your audience, that's a huge advantage in politics. But Trump did television, and television, you're out there shaking the hands of general managers, and you're working the promotion, and you're doing all of this stuff to make the show successful. You're looking at how every move that you make looks on camera, and you're working that for 14 seasons, #1 in the country. I don't think these little pipsqueaks from the television news departments, 26 years old, have a chance in the world of catching him in an awkward moment. He's just too good at this.
1,000%. 35 years ago on CNN with Charles Feldman, Trump did the same thing. They were trying to come out with him and this and negative this and that, and he said, "Well, who are you talking about? Don't just throw this stuff out." Finally, they're going through, and he's going, and he says, "Well, why don't you talk about something positive, or why don't you ask me, or if you're gonna, who are you talking about?" Negative names, and they didn't. Finally, after about a minute, or the clip runs a minute, about a minute, he just takes the microphone off and says, "See, I'm no part of this. This is Trump. Trump was doing it. He does it today. He was doing it 35 years ago. He's not changed from that." And the Media Research Center just came out in the first 100 days, whatever it's the the Peacock or whomever, all the news services, PMS, NBC, as Rush used to say, 97% of their coverage has been negative in the first 100 days of Trump, despite all the great things he has done, Susan Shelley.
Well, that's true. The coverage is negative, but the country doesn't care. And this is really awesome. This is really great. And honestly, I think you could say that he gets credit for forcing the Democrats into the position, because they're so stupid that they fell for it. They're in the position of defending gang members, people who come into the country illegally and then murder and rape and burn and steal and deal drugs and engage in human trafficking. And he's got the Democrats defending them on camera. I mean, it's like he's producing the producing the 2026 campaign ads. It's amazing. He's getting these clips of Democrats saying these unbelievable things in defense of gang members. Wild.
He had the meeting today, the second one, with all the cabinet members. They gave updates and everything. And he first did that, thanked them all. It was about an hour or so, said, "Okay, we're going to do some questions," as he always does. He said, "Let's be respectful for this." First one was some broad on there chattering about how, why don't you get down there with the guy in El Salvador and bring back the gangbanger? They're still beating that. And he's like going, I mean, not that he probably didn't expect it, but this is what proves the point and I think probably you and a lot of people, okay, let's have an honest debate discussion about this. You have every cabinet secretary there of everything else, and the first question, and he says, let's act respectful. Let's have a debate if you have a question or something. And it's you gotta get the gangbanger back. This, and it's like the same story keeps repeating, Susan Shelley.
It's true. That's the story they want to pound. There's amazing progress going on with the Ukraine peace negotiations. And now we have a rare earth minerals deal that they finally got signed, which is very significant. And they're going to wind up settling this war between Russia and Ukraine, which should win President Trump the Nobel Peace Prize, but of course won't. They'll probably give another one to the Obama family just to spite him. But he's doing amazing things with the economy. He's cutting things out of the budget that should have been cut generations ago and making tremendous progress in every respect. Bobby Kennedy is making huge progress in his Make America Healthy Again agenda against all these lobbyists from pharma and big food. That's a huge story. They don't want to cover that. I don't understand how these networks and these news divisions stay in business the way they ignore things that are interesting and important in favor of things that are just not.
It's I mean, he took like 7 or 8 questions, or maybe one of them was half coherent. The rest of them were like, and again, you have every cabinet secretary just gave you the updates. Hey, if you want to go after him, he said, hey, ask, and that's what he said. He said, you have every cabinet secretary here. Why don't you ask them a question? You know, and they were like, just attack mode or what. And again, I mean, in a way, I'm glad they're doing it. Like, you know, when your enemy's in a hole, you know, digging themselves deeper, you hand them shovels. And I think that's what Trump did. But switching gears, I'm really intrigued by this one of your columns this week. The city of Los Angeles excels at setting taxpayer money on fire, Susan Jelly.
Oh, do they ever? Well, you know, they've not been very transparent about how they've been spending money. And there have been audits through the years over this homelessness spending, billions of dollars. It started in 2017 with a $1.2 billion bond to build homelessness housing. And then there was a sales tax increase the following year of 1/4 cent temporarily. That has since been made, it's been doubled and made permanent. So now it's going to produce $1 billion a year, $1 billion a year for the County of Los Angeles to spend on homelessness services and housing. And Los Angeles apparently isn't going to get any of that because the county has withdrawn from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, which was a joint city-county agency, because the city failed another audit from a court-ordered review of homelessness spending. There's $2.5 billion or some amount like that that's missing. And now there's a news story from LAist reporter Nick Gerda, who's excellent. He found out that there were settlements of whistleblower retaliation allegations. 2 people were fired and they sued for, among other things, whistleblower retaliation. And the county, this is from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority agency, they will not turn over the records revealing what these whistleblower allegations were about. So they were forced to release the settlement agreements, which showed that $800,000 was paid to these 2 employees as a settlement of these allegations, will not release, and apparently they have no legal right to withhold them, but they will not release these documents about what the whistle was blown on. So this is just the latest in throwing money away. These are taxpayer funds used for this settlement. And what is going on in Los Angeles with homelessness spending? $1 billion a year. And they don't even have an agency to spend it on. They're going to try to stand up a new county agency to start to spend the money. It's going to have 1,000 employees and a budget of $1 billion a year. For this population of 50-some thousand in the county who are homeless. And, you know, I did the math on Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, has this program called Inside Safe. And I did the math on how much it's spending per person to keep people in motels, which she calls interim housing. $137,000 a year per person. Does it seem like we're getting any value for that?
Any value? They gotta be getting 55. Maybe this is how the Palisades fire started. They gotta be getting 55-gallon drums somewhere and placing them all over the city and just lighting $100 bills on fire. I mean, how could you?
That would explain.
Yes, that would be a lot. At least you could explain how you could get to that number of housing one person costs $137 grand per year, and they're still a vagrant. I mean, how much you could give them? You could give them all of Elon Musk's money, Bezos, Warren Buffett. They would that wouldn't make any difference in their lifestyle. They're mentally fried. They need to be in some sort of institution of that.
Yeah. We need medical facilities for some people, for people who have gravely disabling mental illness and they're on the streets talking to themselves and walking in the traffic. They should be in medical care. And the people who are just addicted to drugs, they need substance abuse treatment because they're not going to get better giving them harm reduction kits and putting them in a motel room. This is only going to end in disaster for everybody. And in fact, 70 people in the program did die while Inside Safe was, quote, helping them. And 69 were incarcerated while Inside Safe was helping them. So how much help is that exactly? Not too much.
Well, you've got a couple minutes left. I want to touch on your other column, the losing war against drivers in Los Angeles, Susan Shelley.
The losing war against drivers in Los Angeles. Well, what we have going on in Los Angeles is a fight between the bicyclists and the drivers. There have been several different programs in Los Angeles trying to do road diets and trying to slow down traffic because bicyclists want it. And now there's a ballot measure that passed last November, or maybe it was in the spring, the last year, that requires the city, whenever a street is partially repaved, even an eighth of a mile of repaving, they're now required to install bike lanes. According to this plan that they adopted in 2015, which had been shelved as completely unworkable, now it's mandatory. It was unworkable, and now it's mandatory. And the city has no money. The city has $1 billion deficit. So how are they going to be spending money on bike lanes? Well, one of the things in this measure was the right to sue the city if they don't install these mandatory so-called enhancements like bike lanes and traffic slowing devices and bus lanes and all this stuff. So somebody's doing it. An editor of a publication called Streets Blog LA has filed a lawsuit saying they didn't install bike lanes on Vermont Avenue and they were supposed to, and he's suing to make them do it. And they won't do it. And meanwhile, Metro, the county agency, is installing a bus lane where this guy wants the bike lanes to be. So this is just a huge Western movie that's going on here with the ranchers versus the homesteaders, the bike lanes versus the bus lanes versus the drivers. And, it's going to end badly for everybody except the drivers because there's no money to do any of this stuff. So that's where it's going to end up.
Yes, and we're getting the same thing out in the IE, a couple years later, but we imported this insanity from Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco. That got about a minute left. Tell them why they should join HJTA Go.
Join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association because we strengthen your voice in this crazy state. And somebody should be speaking for you in the legislature, in the courts, on the ballot. And the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is doing that. And you can make it stronger by being a member for just $15 a year. So go to hjta.org, sign up for the free email alerts so that you can find out what's going on before it's too late to do anything about it. hjta.org, be a member of Howard Jarvis.
Thanks for being on, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Roy.
Susan Shelley, Vice President of Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and columnist extraordinaire for the Southern California News Group, which is almost a dozen papers just in Southern California, including our local ones, LA Daily News, Orange County Register, among those. Wow. A lot of stuff. I mean, I think we got them on the run. They've thrown every brickbat at us in the United States as a society that they could possibly do. Not only at Trump, at us. And yeah, it's been, sometimes you looked at it and said, I don't know if we can make it. But I believe in 2025, and hopefully we carry to 2026, we're coming back stronger. Meaner, leaner, and sweeter. And that bodes well for all of us.
As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. I think more people are realizing not only, well, the extreme insanity that's went on in California. Susan Shelley's pointed it out. LA here, Miss Krell up in Sacramento, Donald J. in the District of Criminals, Washington, D.C. And it's becoming for more and more people, even though they didn't want to hear about it or thought it wasn't true, it's becoming more undeniable. And that's a good thing because we've had to flush this stuff out. You can't stick your head in the sand. You can't back up. It's one of the great things I love about Trump. He doesn't back up. And that's what you have to have in order to persevere. If you surrender, if you back up, they own you. It's happening again all across the country. And thank goodness, thank our lucky stars, whatever you believe, that it's happening because that bodes well for our future. That'll do it for today. We usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here in 23 Hours Why, the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
So whatever I'm doing on that Rumble thing or whatever you did, I couldn't get it to work yesterday, so I'm back to doing it the way I did. So you're gonna have to come back and show me what you did.
Okay, no problem.
No big thing, but I failed.
It's okay.
You got it.
All right, bye.